Hi, I'm DJ Sixsmith. You're watching The Sit Down. Time to talk about a brand new movie, 21 Bridges. Adrian, Alperovich, Rachel Shame. Hey guys, how are you?
Nice to meet you.
Thanks for coming in. All right, so the big Chadwick Boseman movie coming out on Friday. Let's talk about it because we've had directors, we've had filmmakers, we've had actors, but now we get to talk to the producers. So Rachel, let's start with you. What was it like putting it together?
Well, we came on board once the Russo brothers, obviously they're phenomenal producers and directors. They came on board to produce the movie and STX, and we saw the script. It was great. We came on board and loved it.
That's awesome. So Adrian, what goes down when you guys come into the picture? Like, what are the specific things you guys are focused on?
Well, for us as a company, we're always looking for great projects, great stories that we want to be part of, and great partners. So really, what Rachel just described in terms of Agbo and the Russo brothers and STX, who we'd been looking to make a movie with, and we were excited about Brian Kirk, the director, and the incredible cast that they were putting together, which, I mean, we had Chadwick. We were involved in the casting part of it as well. So that's really what we look for. And this story was the kind of thing that we really like, which is we call elevated genre. So it is a genre movie. It's a great action movie, but it's deeper and richer and well-rounded.
So what were you guys looking for specifically with the casting? Like, what was most important with it?
Actors who had a level of complexity to them, who could portray characters who are good and bad simultaneously. And we thought between Stephan James, obviously Chadwick, Sienna Miller, J.K. Simmons, Taylor Kitsch, we were completely blessed with a rich, through and through cast.
Yeah, I mean, unbelievable cast. And like you said, like each of those people really shows their complexity. So how did you guys see the growth from when the movie first started to the finished product?
In terms of casting?
Just in terms, yeah. I mean, you're in the casting room, right, to see how everything goes down, and then you see the finished picture, right?
Yeah.
So what was it like kind of watching that evolution just the whole time?
It was really terrific, even just being on set for, popping in and out, and seeing Chadwick's process in particular, and just how committed he was to play this character. And he's also producer along with Logan Coles, so that was a really interesting interplay, just so that he could have the big picture, but also the moment-to-moment evolution of his character at the same time. Pretty fantastic to observe.
Yeah, so there's obviously a focus there, and you've been around a lot of great people in your careers. What were some specific things with Chadwick that really stood out to you guys?
I remember a meeting that we had that I was kind of amazed at how intensely focused he was on the story and his character. And he was there as producer and also as actor, but what he was advocating for something that we were kind of working on in the story, and it was just so interesting how kind of deep he went, and the kind of creative notes that he was putting into the story, which was a slight change to kind of how it started, but it ended up being really fascinating.
Yeah, as simple as just the accent to start with. Like, he nails this whole New York accent, right? But then it's kind of like what he's mentally working through. Like, people will find out with what happened with his family, what's going on with the police officers.
Exactly.
Like, there's a lot more depth than just entering the character there. So I can totally hear what you guys are saying there.
Exactly.
That's really cool. So when you think about the movie, what were some of the challenges in putting this thing together?
There was it's an action-packed film.
A lot of action,
Which it's propulsive, it's thrilling, and that also creates challenges just in how do you shoot that, who do you shoot it with, what's the production plan. So that was, I would say, one of the primary challenges. And I remember being on set at it may have been 3 or 4 in the morning.
I was going to say you must have had some really early mornings given where you were shooting.
Yeah.
A lot of night shooting.
A lot of night shooting outdoors in the cold, shutting down for the film Manhattan Bridge.
I mean, that's pretty cool.
It was really cool.
Yeah.
And so that was a pretty unique experience.
That's so. Adrian, any memories in particular that stand out to you?
Rachel and I are partners at MWM Studios, so we kind of cover different areas. So Rachel's the head of creative activity, and I'm the head of business. So I wasn't on set, and I work a lot with the companies together and forming the movie and funding the movie and all of the kind of operational stuff that goes behind it.
I gotcha.
So I wish I could have seen it, but I wasn't there.
But I mean, it turned out to be a pretty nice product. So from a business standpoint then, what were some of the challenges you guys faced?
Well, every movie's challenging.
Yeah, I mean, just funding movies today, like, I don't think people understand how difficult that can be, even if it's a major star like this. There's a lot in it.
It's a complicated thing to put together. We were working with STX, which has a model where they fund a lot of the movie from international partnerships that they have. So we were partnered with them, and then you kind of have a global view of the movie economically. So you have international partners that help fund it, and then we fund the domestic. They are the distributor. So we all work very closely, not just me, but several people in the company work with them on the marketing, distribution, all the things you think about for dating the movie, and how your marketing efforts are going to be put together. And so they've been a great partner. We've really enjoyed it. We're excited as the movie's coming out. I think people are going to really dig the characters.
I think so.
Because
I agree.
they're not exactly what you expect.
No, and as the movie's
two-dimensional,
right,
it's way deeper than that.
As it's going on too, you're starting to question things as well. So
Exactly.
I guess from a storyline standpoint, what do you want people to start to think like throughout the movie? Because it's like you have a lot of thoughts about police officers. You have a lot of thoughts about, you know, kind of which way to go on certain people. So what are some of the big thoughts to have?
I mean, it's an incredibly complex issue. I think we really would like people to walk away relating to all of the characters in the film and seeing that lines are blurred and that there isn't necessarily an extreme of good or bad, and there's a morality question that you know, everybody is faced with, and that is what we hopefully wish people take home with them.
Totally. And this is a great one to see in theaters, but like you guys realize, just getting people to the theaters is not an easy thing. And just cutting through with all the movies out there. So how do you plan to do it with this? Like, what's the big pitch to get people to go to the theater to see this one?
Well, I think, and you can see it in our creative materials, the movie is exciting. So we're really pitching the excitement. Obviously, we have a big movie star who's the star of the movie, so people love Chadwick. So, you know, there's pillars that you build the campaign on. And, you know, it's interesting because one of the things that you won't see a lot of in the creative is kind of the complexity of the story in terms of what's happening, because we didn't really want to give it away.
Yeah.
So people need to discover it a little bit. So there's teases of it to get people interested.
I think the performances are something that we hope people will be drawn to. And both, I mean, the cast is unbelievable, but Stephan James and Chadwick, who obviously are two forces of nature,
absolutely,
you know, who are faced against each other, and the complexity, we keep on using that word, but that is what we hope people will be able to kind of see in some of the materials that we're putting out there, and will take away from the film.
Right.
But, you know, if you had great ideas about how we can get people to go, you should tell us, because it's really hard.
Yeah.
We talk about it all the time.
I'm sure you do. And, you know, I think it's part, you have to give a little bit of a teaser, but you don't want to give too much, because this is a complicated story. You're not going to get it in a poster. You're not going to get it in a 30-second trailer. But you kind of have to load up cast. And like with Motherless Brooklyn, obviously you guys loaded up the cast. And having Ed Norton and Alec Baldwin and Willem Dafoe, like that's obviously an intentional move. So why don't we talk about that film? What was it like putting that one together?
New York.
Yep.
In the cold.
Yep. New York and cold seem to be the consistent themes.
That shot, definitely shot in the winter.
Shot in the winter, snow pants and ski boots in the middle of Manhattan, which was really fun. But that was Edward Norton's, you know, heart and soul.
His baby,
From, you know, 20 years of putting the film together, and we wanted to support his vision. It's an incredibly beautiful film, and again, performances are fantastic, but across the board, it's just top-notch quality, from the production design to Daniel Pemberton's score to Tom York. I mean, it's something that everybody hopefully will go see in the theater while it's still there.
Absolutely, and it's interesting. Yeah, feel free, jump right in.
I was just thinking, it's another movie where we were excited and attracted by the partnerships involved. Yeah. So Edward and his company, Class 5, and his producing partner, Bill Migliori, were terrific partners and that we, helped put the movie together with. Warner Brothers was an amazing partner in marketing and distributing the movie. And really, I think a lot about, and you'll probably hear this from people in our industry and maybe across all industries, you really want to look for people that you want to work with.
Sure.
Because all work is hard, and you want to feel like you're on a team together. And both of these movies were terrific that way. Yeah, great experiences.
Absolutely. And I think it's interesting because there's so much going on with this film between the people, the time period, the other movies that are out at this time. Like The Irishman obviously is getting a lot of buzz. But like still, how does that all factor into making the decision? It's like, all right, we want to release it in November. This is how we want to release it, because it's not like it once was where it's like, all right, we're rolling this out, all these theaters, here we go, right? Yeah. How has that changed over the years?
Yeah, well, I mean, a lot of it is in the distributor's hands. As much as all of us have input, it is a distributor ultimate decision as to how that all comes together. But you have a lot more to say around that.
I've worked over the years in distribution, and a lot of that is just the team getting together and trying to figure out what is the best time of year. No one, you don't, hindsight's always perfect.
Sure.
But we thought this was a great fall movie, Motherless, and I think it is a great fall movie because of the kind of intense quality of the film and the amazing cast and the weight of it. It's just, it's a deep movie for people to experience. We talked a lot about the time of year, and fall was what we wanted. Where there were other times we talked about too, but it's just a decision you make, and often you make it way ahead of time.
And it's like one of those gritty movies that kind of fits with the season. Like when you shot it, when it's coming out, it kind of makes sense that it would line up like that.
Definitely.
Yeah, people wearing overcoats. I mean, they are. So
absolutely.
We thought it would, right.
Yeah.
It didn't feel like a summer movie.
Sure. No, definitely not. We had Josh Peiss here, who has a role with Alec Baldwin, and he talked about Baldwin's just intense focus. That seems to be a consistent theme, but just being on set, like what are the memories of Ed Norton and Baldwin and all those guys doing their thing together?
Yeah. Well, Alec was playing an incredibly powerful and intense human being.
So kind of went with the role to do that.
Who was threatening, and he just was, he's a driving force, and he just wanted to keep going and keep going, no sitting, no
he didn't
breaks.
Want to stop. Yeah.
He didn't want to go back to his trailer, and it was awesome that he was just so committed to it all.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
What's something in the industry we're not talking enough about? Because like we're talking about streaming and people going to the theaters and international versus domestic. Like what is something that we're not giving enough buzz to? It could be something great. It could be something that's difficult. Anything that pops to mind for you guys.
Yeah, I don't know if this is exactly a good way to go with it, but I think as much as people talk about the change that's going on with streamers and going to the movies and movies that are hits and flops, etc., I think one thing that people don't talk about enough is that people are watching more. So content, entertainment in general, is showing up on more and more different types of screens, and people are really enjoying it. I mean, we're in the business of telling stories. That's what our company is for. We want to tell great stories. We want to partner with great storytellers. So for a company that produces content like ours, the fact that you can show it in so many different ways, and how television has become kind of an elevated place to tell stories is a great opportunity, because people clearly want great content.
Oh, yeah.
And they're reacting really well to it. I believe in the movie theater experience. I believe it will remain, because I think people often want to leave the house. They don't want to do everything in their house. They want to experience things communally, because I think that's part of our culture, and part of receiving storytelling is to do things communally, just like people go to live music.
Totally.
It's a different experience than hearing it by yourself. So I think people don't talk enough about that opportunity.
What about you, Rachel? What do you think?
I agree. I think the topics that are being spoken about are ones that I'm still interested in speaking of,
Sure.
And just the complexity, the difficulty in getting quality films made for a theatrical release right now is so tough, and I want to put all my efforts into trying to find ways to keep movies in the theaters while also being able to stream at home. But there's a quality level that I believe is missed if you're only seeing it on, something that's that size, and you just aren't able to kind of experience it in the way that, one would in a movie theater. So that is really something that I'm focused on.
Here's another one that I really get from you. This proliferation of ways to engage with content also is creating opportunities for more diverse voices.
Absolutely.
For creating content with lower budgets. I mean, what you're doing here.
Sure.
You're doing the same thing. You're telling stories
Absolutely.
To an audience.
Yeah.
And being able to find smaller, devoted audiences is part of that opportunity. And you really do see different kinds of stories. And we're interested in that as a company as well.
I think that's the beauty of it, because for so many years it was the same types of stories. We saw, sequels and franchises rolled out. Like when we have, whether it's a period piece or a story like this, it's cool that these stories can still have their place amidst all the other stuff going on in the industry.
And that is something, when you asked earlier about how we hope to get people into theaters, we are pushing that angle that it is an original story.
Right. Yeah, you haven't seen this before.
Right.
It's
That
not
is
a remake.
It's very true,
Yeah.
and we're incredibly proud to be putting material out into the world that just is not a sequel or necessarily based on existing IP.
Yeah, because I think it can be such BS when people are like, oh, we've run out of ideas. No, it just takes some new people sitting at the table or thinking about things a little bit differently.
I don't think that will ever happen.
Yeah, no, I think it's just lazy to say that. But this certainly isn't a lazy movie.
No,
I can tell you that.
definitely not.
Guys, thank you very much.
Thank you so
Rachel.
much.
Nice to meet you.
Thanks.
Adrian, pleasure. Check out their movies. You got this one coming out on Friday, Motherless Brooklyn, already out in theaters. We'll see you next time here on The Sit Down.